Now, welcome to another edition of the Upstate Orange Podcast, the show made by Syracuse fans for Syracuse fans. It's Thursday, February 7th, 2013. We're coming at you live from the luxurious FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. I'm Jim Sinacropi, I'm joined in studio by my co-hosts Matt Verkey and Brad Connor via telephone in Cincinnati. Welcome, fellas.
What's up, Jim?
Good evening, guys.
We're going to be talking about why Syracuse struggles at Pitt, the big Monday win over Notre Dame, some nasty rumors that we've overheard this week. We'll preview the upcoming St. John's and UConn games, take a quick look at all the action around the country. Great trivia on Connor's Corner section with a Big East flavor tonight, I'm told. And all in all, a lot to talk about. The Upstate Orange Podcast is brought to you by Madej, Miras, and Ricky, your hometown personal injury attorneys. If you've been injured and deserve compensation, call the Finger Lakes Personal Injury Hotline at 315-568-0911. And also by Generations Bank, generations of service for over 140 years. Visit them online at mygenbank.com and check out their new mobile banking app. And Newark Pilots Baseball season ticket packages now available for the 2013 season at Colburn Park. Visit newarkpilots.com for more information. Well, fellas, let's get some of these rumors out of the way. They're rumors, but it's information from someone we know who is within that inner circle a little bit of, not a player or coach, but might talk to the players and the coaches regularly. And the rumors that we're hearing is that potential probation, potential vacated wins, and then other things like Raheem Christmas might transfer at the end of this year, and Michael Carter-Williams is potentially going to be suspended. These are all rumors, but where there's smoke, there's fire, and Verk is a pretty decent source that this might be more serious for Syracuse.
We've kind of heard this over the last few years, and especially with the Fab Melo stuff, and usually you start hearing things, and then a week or two later it comes to fruition, and I don't know what scale this is going to be on as far as I think we're talking a little bit of a possible academic scandal here that might have involved more than one athlete, like James Sutherland. And, it just a couple things that scare me about it are, they're compliant. The academic guy who worked with the athletes left early December. They've had a few issues last couple of years. And, it's a little worrisome. Let's hope it's just people talking, and that happens a lot. If you go on the Syracuse forums, you see tons of stuff on there about different things, but let's hope and pray for the best here. But you're vacated wins, and it's a lot of it's got to be pretty serious stuff. You're probably talking some kind of grade academic fixing of grades and stuff like that. But
I just can't believe that would be something that would happen up on the Hill. So I'm hoping that they are rumors or maybe a worst case scenario type of thing. Sometimes when you hear things secondhand, you only hear the person isn't going to tell you anything but the worst, that they've been hearing. So, again, that's not based on any fact. And then, doesn't seem like anybody's acting any different.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And I would imagine if the NCAA, whoever had this information, they would be acting on it. What's the holdup? And
Sutherland has a hearing tomorrow, Friday, but it's a university hearing. Right. So I thought that was good news.
Why has it taken so long to get a university hearing? That you would think they'd have it the next day.
Yeah.
And especially if he's found to be eligible. Could he have been eligible 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, could have used him. It did give Jeremy Grant a chance to kind of emerge a little bit, but we're going to find out a little bit more over the next few days after that Sutherland hearing. So, that's kind of it for non-off basketball, off-the-court kind of stuff. Let's talk about what's went on the court this week. Starting out with Syracuse losing at Pitt. It's one of those places that we just don't win. It's partly Jamie Dixon. It's partly the arena. I don't know. We could go into Louisville and get a win, but, just can't beat Pitt. I don't take too much away from that loss, Brad. How about you? It's just another loss to Pitt to me.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where we almost expect it. It's the house of horrors, I guess, for Syracuse. I almost don't like watching games there because I just know bad things are about to happen. And it's a tough matchup for Syracuse. It's always been. They're a physical team. They play a very hard-nosed style, and I'm not sure Syracuse always is a good match for that style, quite honestly.
No, and like you say, wasn't too surprised. It was. I don't think the game was officiated that great. Well, they let them play. Which I think hurt Syracuse, but in this particular game it should have helped them because we were so thin. They didn't call a lot of fouls. Syracuse didn't get any guys in foul trouble, other than late in the game. Ended up Carter Williams fouling out, but the game was kind of already decided. If Syracuse got in any type of foul trouble, they got 7 guys.
The worst part about that game was the one single stat line, 5 assists.
Yeah.
Do everything you need to know about that game for Syracuse.
And Pittsburgh, 19 of the 24 baskets were assisted on. I think Pitt does an amazing job of interior passing, and they kind of, they really work that baseline against us where you attack that, the Syracuse 2-3 zone. And Pitt seems to always have guys who can make that mid-range, 13, 14, 15-foot jumper that seems to be open a lot. And
yep.
And they rebound. They out-rebounded Syracuse 39-24 and really banged them up on the offensive glass. We talked about in other shows, this was a pretty good rebounding team for Syracuse, but over the last couple games, Villanova and Pitt, they got beat up on the boards, and they were both losses. So that, I think Syracuse kind of took a step back that way, where I thought this was going to be a better rebounding Syracuse team. It's still better than they've been, but a couple bad rebounding games there for them.
We did bounce back on the rebounding end against Notre Dame, out-rebounded them 29-21, and again that's I think with 7 guys we're still a great team. We can't withstand much foul trouble, but
with the team we have now, Brandon Trish can't go 4 for 14, Carter Williams can't go 3 for 12, and we're not going to win. CJ Fair really had a great game, 9 for 13, 20 points, played all 40 minutes, but we can't shoot 3 for 14, 18 for 49, and from the field and expect to really win a game. It's tough to do.
Yeah, and I think the big difference against Notre Dame, and hopefully this is a harbinger for things to come for the rest of the season, is it seemed like Michael Carter Williams was back trying to rack up those assist totals and less worried about his shot. He was 1 for 3, from the field against Notre Dame and that's total contrast to the last couple games where Syracuse has struggled, where Carter Williams has taken 14 shots, and making 3 or 4 of them. So it was nice to see Carter Williams, even with this trimmed down roster, not having Sutherland, not having to score, and for that matter, Trish not really having to score, for them to have success and really win easily against Notre Dame. And I think it was a product of, first of all, their defense just being incredible, but second of all, Michael Carter Williams looking to pass instead of shoot and set up his teammates. Did you notice that on Monday night, Brad?
Yeah, it seemed like he was a lot more focused on being a team player. It almost felt like Boeheim talked to him about that and a couple things. And what's funny, I noticed too, you guys see down the stretch, last 3 or 4 minutes, the ball was in Trish's hands. Carter Williams was playing off the ball. And,
right.
Down the stretch, and I don't know if that was a conscious effort on the part of either Brandon Trish or Boeheim just to get it into the better free throw shooters' hands and get it into your seniors' hands.
Maybe Boeheim listened to the podcast last week. But yeah, I mean, if you were going to tell me that Trish and Carter Williams are going to combine for 12 points and we're going to beat Notre Dame fairly easily, I would say no way. But, the way it worked out, those guys really distributed the ball. Trish had 6 assists. Carter Williams bounced back with 8 assists. And, it's great to see that. It's great to see, obviously, people have talked about it all week. When, you get some scoring from somebody else besides those two, it makes the game a lot easier. And Rakeem Christmas really stepped up. And, Fair has been steady, obviously.
Superstar, man.
And,
CJ Fair is the greatest.
And Jeremy Grant, we talked about how good he's been playing. At Pitt, I think he was 1 for 10. He came back with 6 for 8 against Notre Dame.
The crazy thing about it is that this guy, Grant, was playing, there's some games he was playing 3-4 minutes earlier this year. He played 80 minutes in their last 2 games. He didn't come out. And that's one of those things about Boeheim I don't understand with the way he manages personnel. I don't really question Boeheim too much on a lot of things, but Grant is obviously good enough to play significant minutes, and I think he was probably good enough in December. How can a guy go like Jeremy Grant go from playing a 3 or 4 minutes in a game to playing 80 minutes in 2 Big East games and being successful?
He's probably, when Sutherland was playing, Grant was probably playing 10 to 15 minutes a game.
Right.
So you got a couple, they start off the game with the 2 big guys in there. So he's losing 5, 6, 7 minutes when, the big guys were starting.
Right.
And then, then Sutherland would come in. So Grant's either going to go in for Sutherland or Fair. So, you're going with your more experienced guys. And, maybe, Grant's obviously been given this great opportunity. But if, you got Sutherland who's a senior, good scorer. He's going to get some minutes there.
Yeah, where are you going to put him?
And Fair doesn't really come out too much. So it's tough to fit him in there exactly at the 3 or 4.
I'm glad he's getting the time, though, Brad, because he's unbelievable. He's an unbelievable athlete. He's active on the rebounds. He's active in the zone blocking shots. He can run in transition. He can hit a 3 if he has to. He looks for his own shot, and he's good handling the ball. The guy's phenomenal.
How great was that block that he put Jack Cooley's shot in the
oh, my God, yeah.
He got so high. He saw that play happen 5 seconds before it actually happened. He anticipated. I mean, that's what you see from him. There's such instinct there.
Right.
That once he can pair the instinct with the athleticism that we obviously see.
DNA.
Basketball sense. I mean, he'll be the full package if we get him for another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully he comes back next year, right? I mean, that's the sad part about it.
Yeah, he'll be back. He's not anywhere near ready for the NBA. But, one thing I did read, too, about playing at Pitt. Pitt's 13-1 at the Peterson Event Center against top 10 teams. I mean, that's an amazing record. Everybody was
ridiculous.
I saw some posts and stuff like that where people were like, Syracuse is overrated. I mean, they lost at Pitt. Pitt was favored in that game. I thought Syracuse would win that game, but I wasn't shocked when they lost it by any means.
No, Pitt's a ranked team. I mean, to win on the road at a ranked team, I mean, that's asking a lot of anybody in the top 25.
Yeah, Big East road game, nothing's easy.
And to be honest with you, look at what's going on in college basketball. TCU beat Kansas. Everybody's losing to everybody. It actually, when you look at what's going on around the country, it makes what's going on with the Syracuse team feel a little better about it. We've been spoiled. Unprecedented run in the Big East the last 2 years and out of conference of just winning so many games. It's hard to do in today's college basketball world when you can lose to a TCU if you're Kansas. TCU was 10-12, 1-8 in the Big 12. They just beat Kansas, who we all have in our power rankings, top 5. So
not anymore.
So yeah, that's right. So you look at Syracuse losing to Pittsburgh. That's to be expected, I think, and not really shocking. And
what's funny is you could go up and down the top 10, and all the top 10 have at least one what you might consider a bad loss or a loss that they probably shouldn't have had. Maybe exception of maybe Michigan. And with Syracuse, that's probably the Villanova game. But at Villanova, and they just beaten Louisville the game before. I don't necessarily even see that as a bad loss.
No, and Temple wasn't a great loss either, obviously. But and I was thinking before the Pitt game, if Syracuse just makes a few foul shots, they have one loss, really. Pitt, right. I thought, was the only team that really handled Syracuse where
they lost the game.
They were out of it. And, but Carter Williams, the Temple game, we never should have lost. And Villanova, we never should have lost.
Absolutely
it's I think Syracuse is fine. I still think they're a national title contender, with or without James Sutherland and DeJuan Coleman. They have enough there. It makes it a lot harder. And if Sutherland can come back and play, and give them something,
that's
going to be huge.
It's not so much that you gain a lot of talent at any one time on the court with Sutherland. He'll extend the defense a little bit, but when you're going to make a run through a Big East tournament and an NCAA tournament, you're going to run into some foul trouble, and Syracuse is going to have trouble, especially if a guy like Rakeem Christmas and Keita both pick up 2-3 first half fouls.
Yeah, and
what do you do?
With Sutherland also, it gives you an option of, if need be, if Trish or Michael Carter-Williams got in serious foul trouble, you could move Sutherland, slide him up to the top of that zone, and play him at the 2.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I trust Trevor Cooney in that NCAA tournament game right now, or a Big East tournament game. It just gives you a couple different options if need be. Hopefully, we won't have to see that, but it'd be nice to have him back. Just he seems like a good kid. He's
love James Sutherland.
He's a great athlete, and he does bring a lot to the table, and it'd be great to see him come back. But we'll find out tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed. The appeal hearings tomorrow, I don't know if it's a type of thing where, they decide right there and he comes out of the room and says, I'm playing or I'm not playing. But it would be nice to know one way or another. It's just, and again, to have him not be able to finish his career and have his senior day at the Dome, it would be disappointing. If it's something he did to himself, then I guess it's a price he has to pay. But it's just so odd. We talked about it before that a fifth-year senior, would have academic issues this late in the game. But
I read something that said it was not even this academic year.
Yeah.
This is going back because it's a function of NCAA digging into it. And so, that's the unfortunate thing is it penalizes this year's team and this year's player for something that happened years ago that potentially Syracuse could have investigated on their own and dealt with back then.
Sweet. Let me ask you something. I was just thinking, if you had to pick one player off this team, if you're Jim Boeheim, you go to the Big East Conference and you're going to nominate one guy for first team All Big East right now, who would it be?
Off of Syracuse?
Yeah.
I'd go with, are we going to talk about just the Big East games?
Just the Big East. I think when they pick Big East, it's based on all Big East stuff.
Yeah, CJ Fair, without a doubt.
It's got to be CJ Fair.
Man, that's what I think too, and that gets overlooked so much. I think, in that what he hasn't come out of a game, and since Villanova, I think, or 3 or 4 games ago before Villanova.
And he hits big shots.
And he's just steady, especially the last couple games. At first, the way Trish started out in the Big East, I thought Trish had his chance for Big East Player of the Year at one point, but he's kind of stumbled here the last couple games and not really shot the ball too well. But Fair's been Mr. Consistency, and if you look where he ranks just within Big East games, scoring wise, rebounding wise, minutes played, I'm sure he's top 5 or 6 in all those categories.
And I think one reason he gets overlooked is just his style. He's never beating his chest, or drawing attention to himself. What he's doing is knocking down mid-range jumpers, hitting open threes, taking care of business on the boards, playing great defense. And then, what he does do spectacularly is, incredible dunks and blocks. And he's just an incredible athlete, but he controls himself so well. He's just really smooth and under control at all times.
I think what you'd see is if the vote came down to the coaches in the league, CJ Fair would definitely get on there from the Big East. If it was up to the media, it would probably be somebody like Carter Williams or even Trish. I think just because they have a higher profile,
right?
In the media and even nationally, where guys that know basketball and know what CJ Fair brings. The coaches that have the game plan against Syracuse, they have to address what CJ Fair can do from mid range, around the basket. Those are the guys that know that he's one of the top 6-7 players in the league.
Yeah, and it's tough to Carter Williams leads the nation in assists, but he's had 3 for 14, 4 for 16. He's crappy games.
Yeah. He's a guy you can game plan, really. Where
playing him.
It's hard. You take away one aspect and he brings something else. And Carter Williams, you take away his ability to drive to the basket and you make him shoot, and he becomes a lot easier to stop.
Yeah, and teams are doing that. they're not helping off their guys. They're making Carter Williams try and finish, and there's games where he's not doing a great job of finishing. And it was nice to see last game he played well and got 8 assists and only took 3 shots. Not that I think he needs to shoot the ball 10 to 12 times a game probably for Syracuse to be successful going forward, but
a lot of those shots can come in transition though too. I mean, it's a type of shots too.
Sure.
And I don't
mind him shooting open threes. It's
I don't know if they're open.
He shoots in the low 30s and from the field in general, mid 30s, and then he's high 20s from the 3-point line. He's not a great
He needs
shooter.
to convert more on those floaters in the lane when he's taken to the basket, because a lot of those shots aren't necessarily bad shots. They're rolling off. He's just got to convert on a few more of those. But let me ask you guys a question, sticking with that Big East honors aspect. What about freshman of the year? Is Jeremy Grant on the all-freshman team for the Big East this year? I mean, we thought going into the year it would be Coleman or even Cooney maybe, but I think Grant's in.
Not yet. He's got to put up more numbers between now and the end of the year. I mean, if the season ended today, I just don't think he has enough minutes, enough output really.
No, you may be right, but I'm thinking along the lines of this is for Big East games,
right?
And
if he continues to do what he's been doing, and they still got 6 or 7 Big East games, and he continues to do what he did against Notre Dame, I think he'll be a shoo-in, but. There's some guys around the league who are putting up averages of, if you look at his averages, he's only averaging, 6-7 points a game.
Right.
But these obviously wasn't getting the minutes early on. There's guys who are putting up some pretty big numbers around the league.
I mean, there's no reason to think that he won't continue to do over the last, 9, 10, 12 games what he's been doing over the last 4 or 5. And if that's the case, then I think he's probably got a good shot.
Well, we're going to face another good freshman this Sunday in Kellen Sampson. He's the old Oklahoma coach. What's Sampson's first name for St. John's?
Jakar Sampson.
Yeah, Jakar. I was thinking of the old Oklahoma coach and Indiana coach, right? Much maligned. But we got St. John's in the Garden. It's not going to be the last time we play him because we've already got that agreement with him. But still, this is the last time as a member of the Big East. It's a Sunday 3:00 game at the Garden. St. John's is red hot.
That's at Syracuse, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is at home. Sorry, not at the Garden. Not at the Garden. My bad. It's at the Dome. It's also a great venue. But yeah, the St. John's is hot. They've won 5 in a row. And they're
good. That's
good team. There's a lot of talent there.
Nonetheless, I expect a win. I mean, I'm thinking we're gonna win that game. 10, 12 points.
Who's the shot blocker for St. John's? It's
that freshman Sampson. He's unbelievable.
I mean, he averages like 3.
Oh yeah, they got the other guy too. who's actually a phenom when it comes to blocking.
Yeah, and they got scorers, and they're a good team. And imagine who's the kid who left last year? If there's freshman year, that was a real good player.
Oh, Stevenson?
Mo Harkless.
Yeah, Mo Harkless. Imagine if he stayed.
Yeah.
I mean, this team would have been unbelievable. I mean, they would have been a top 10 team probably. That Mo Harkless was great.
Yeah, they just, it's a lot of these Big East teams that over the past few years have tried to kind of break through. They lose too many early season games that they shouldn't lose. I don't got St. John's schedule in front of me, but, they had some bad losses early on. And, now they're playing good in league, but, just take care of business in December the way that the top teams do, whether that be Marquette or Syracuse or even UConn.
Now, D'Angelo Harrison for them is a big scorer. And
well, they've been fun to watch. They're
yeah, he can get his own shots. And, he's probably a first-team All-Big East player right now. There's a lot of talent on this team.
I think they'll struggle.
Unfortunately for St. John's, they had a tough stretch. They lost about 4 out of 5. Were it not for that, I think they'd almost be a lock for the tournament at this point.
Who did they lose to in that stretch, Brad? You got that in front of you?
They're 7-4 in the Big East.
Georgetown and Rutgers in league. I mean, losing to Rutgers at home at the Garden was bad
right,
for them.
That was a
they
bad
lost
one.
to UNC Asheville.
Yeah.
That's a real tough one for them. So those are the ones they got to overcome with a few more good Big East wins. I mean, they've got they're playing at the Dome Sunday, and then they've got at Louisville afterwards, and so that's a tough stretch. That if they can get 1 out of 2 there, they're putting themselves in pretty good shape.
Yeah, they got just schedule real quick. They lost to San Francisco earlier in the year, and UNC Asheville. Is that the one you just mentioned?
Yeah.
But other than that, they're 7-4 in the Big East. So, if you end up 2 games above 500 in the Big East, I think you're a lock.
Right.
Flying under the radar, though. I don't think they've even gotten a vote in the top 25 all season, really.
It just shows what the national voters in those polls know about things. But obviously, a chance for St. John's to get the recognition that they're not getting with a win Sunday. I think they're going to struggle against our zone if we're as active as we were against Notre Dame. I think that we're even going to be able to get out and transition a little more against St. John's than we did against Notre Dame, and I think that all equals bad news for St. John's. But Steve Lavin knows what he's doing. He'll have a game plan. It should be a great scene on a Sunday afternoon in the Dome, and then of course we go to Connecticut, UConn, on Wednesday, and. I mean, when are we ever going to play UConn again? Maybe in the Big East tournament, but other than that, this could be it for a while.
UConn's not in the Big East tournament.
Oh, you're right, Verk. They're not. So this really could be the last time for a long time. And when I look at some of the potential rivalries to keep
they'll
intact,
be in the ACC eventually.
Well, you'd think. But I hope they are. The more the merrier. We're going to maintain the Louisville game. We're going to Pittsburgh comes to the ACC, so there's every year we play them on the road's a loss.
I'd rather they not be in the Big East or in the ACC.
Yeah, I would rather take UConn.
Louisville will be in the Big East next year, and then the following year they'll come over to the ACC. So
right,
they're going to be a lonely team
next year. Is going to be a tough season. Maybe they can petition to get out sooner, but. Yeah, it's terrible. But, against UConn's a team that's also under the radar by their own play. They've played, they started out the season beating Michigan State, and since then have been a little lackluster. Kevin Ollie obviously has his hands full with, what's his name, leaving, going to play transfer.
To Missouri?
Oriaki,
yeah, for him taking off. But it's UConn. It's a road game, and again, it's that one's. I'm obviously a little more concerned about that game on the road than I am Sunday at St. John's. But that's why that St. John's game on Sunday is big. You got to win that game because the next game up is going to be difficult. Then after Connecticut, it's on the road against Seton Hall, and you can't slip up because it can lead to a streak. And when you start having losing streaks, you start dropping. Out of first place in the Big East, first of all, out of contention for maybe a number 1 seed or maybe a 2 or 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. So, want to take care of business. Sunday's a big game at 3:00. I think we win both these games this week, but it might not be without some tense moments.
Yeah, I think UConn could be dangerous. I'm looking at their schedule now. I mean, they don't have a single bad loss. All the losses they have, they've lost to the top 3 or 4 in the Big East and beaten everybody they should beat. They lost to Pitt, they lost to Louisville, they lost to St. John's, who we now agree is one of the upper echelon in the Big East, lost to Marquette. But other than that, I mean, they've beaten all the other teams. They beat Notre Dame, they beat Providence, who's obviously got talent, even though they're not always playing to it. They've got a couple of other nice wins. Out of conference. I mean, they can play. It's Syracuse has to come to play, and when you're in their little gym, Campbell Pavilion, that's not an easy place to win.
Yeah, good point. Well, listen, guys, we're running a little bit over as usual. It's time we took a quick break and heard from our sponsors, and then come back with some great Big East trivia. Attention, Finger Lakes residents. Have you been injured and deserve compensation? Call Madej, Maris, and Ricky, your hometown personal injury attorneys. Your case deserves personal attention. At Madej, Maris, and Ricky, they know you by name, not just a number on a folder. Call the Finger Lakes Personal Injury Hotline at 315-568-0911. That's 315-568-0911. Madej, Maris, and Ricky, your hometown personal injury attorneys.
The Newark Pilots. See tomorrow's Major League stars today. For more information, go to newarkpilots.com.
The most valuable things are always passed down from generation to generation. It's true for your family, and it's true for our bank. For more than 140 years at Generations Bank, we've greeted you by name, planned with you for the future, and stood by you when you needed a hand. It's what we do, and what we'll continue to do for generations into the future. We might look different now, but in the important ways, we're exactly like we've always been. Stop in your local branch or go to mygenbank.com.
Welcome back to the Upstate Orange podcast here on FingerLakes1.com. Special thanks to all our sponsors for allowing us to do this podcast and all the great local high school sports coverage. Madej, Maris, and Ricky. Once again, the Finger Lakes Personal Injury Hotline is 315-568-0911. Generations Bank, they got a new banking app, mobile banking app in the iTunes and Android app stores. And Newark Pilots Baseball, Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League. If you get a chance this summer to go to Colburn Park in Newark, I think you're going to enjoy yourself if you're a baseball fan. College kids from across the country come and compete in that league, and it's really good baseball. So, time for my favorite part of the show. It's Connor's Corner Trivia. The last couple weeks, Brad, it's been solely Syracuse-flavored trivia. We've enjoyed that, but we can only say names like Tony Red Bruin and Wendell Alexis so often. We need something different. So you're going to shift gears and give us a little Big East trivia this week.
Yeah, like you said, we've beaten up the Syracuse history pretty good. We'll come back to that, but I wanted to see how much you guys have been paying attention to this season's Big East slate, and we just had a good conversation about some of that already. But we're about halfway through the Big East schedule, and so it's a good time to take stock of where things are at in Big East play, and we'll see if you guys are actually watching anything other than Syracuse out there this season.
Not as much as usual this year, actually. It's been busy winter. Hit us up.
All right. Can you guys tell me the top 5 scorers in Big East play so far this season, conference games?
Conference games throws a little wrinkle into it, but I would. Russ Smith.
Russ Smith is he's 7th on the list.
Did you want the top 7?
No.
What about Porter for Georgetown?
Otto Porter's tied for 5th.
Okay, there's one. What about
Harrison for St. John's?
He is 9th on the list, actually.
Really?
Yeah, he's overall he's 2nd on the list. So he was big early because I think he had a couple of 30-point games before Big East play started.
Right.
He's right around 16 a game in league play.
what about Cooley for Notre Dame?
Yeah, Cooley's down the list, 15th on the list. All of the top 5 are all averaging 16.5 or more.
Well, it's got to be one of the guards for Cincinnati.
Which one?
Which one scores more? They both score. Maybe both of them, but no, it's got to be not the point guard. Right.
Wright's the point guard and Wright's not.
It's the other one. Jeez, Brad, we're gonna be stumbling for coming up with names tonight.
This season. Sean Kilpatrick.
Kilpatrick, of course. Yeah, Kilpatrick.
He's 3rd on the list, 17.5.
Okay. Anybody from Nova? Anyone from Villanova?
How about C.J. Fair?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Not a bad guess. He's 10th on the list. In a game, Big East play.
What about Cotton for Providence?
Bryce Cotton's 1st on the list at almost 20 a game, 19.8.
He's
not a single guy averaging 20 a game in Big East play this season.
He's
as of right now.
Well, yeah, I can see that. There's no NBA lottery type talent in the Big East this year. Is there?
Yeah, I'd say no, really.
How about Shabazz Napier?
Good one.
Yeah, really good.
2nd, 17.7 a game.
Probably nobody from Pitt. They don't score enough. They're pretty balanced too. Let's probably somebody from Marquette.
How about Melvin for DePaul?
Close. He's 16 a game. He's 8th.
Cleveland Melvin, huh?
I'll give you a hint. Another guy from DePaul is tied for 5th.
Well, that's got to be the point guard there.
Young.
Yep, Brandon Young. You're missing one guy. Jim, you were on the right path.
Yeah, it's Marquette. I'm trying to think of the guy's name.
Is it Vita Blue or something like that?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one, Brad.
Blue. Yeah.
It's not Vita Blue, but it's
Vanderblue.
Vanderblue. Vanderblue?
Vanderblue.
Vanderblue.
But yeah, that's nice work. You guys got all of them with 3 or 4 other ones to spare.
Well, think about that list of names we just said. That isn't your normal list of, Ray Allen and Allen Iverson aren't on that list, or John Wallace or Derek Coleman, or Patrick Ewing for that matter, or Chris Mullen.
For those reasons, you could argue that the Big East maybe is down, with at least the national perception, because they don't have the talent, at least the marquee names.
Yeah, I suppose so, but is that just the Big East, or is that college basketball in general?
I would say it's, the Big East just doesn't.
There's more guys in Indiana that are household names. Certainly Duke, Michigan now, guys that are household names.
It's different from the 80s and the 90s. Now, we're getting guys for 1 year, so, they don't. The number 1 draft picks are usually freshmen. There's a little trivia for Brad. Who was the last senior to be taken number 1 in the draft?
I think Tim Duncan.
That's I don't know for sure, but I think so.
Yeah, that's going back. That's 97, I want to say.
Yeah, it's a while ago. But it's a different. You don't get the household names because the guys don't stick around for
long enough to know
2, 3, 4 years. They're there 1 year and gone. If you're good, you're 1 year and gone. Which is unfortunate because I love college basketball and that's why I love a guy like CJ Fair. He's going to be a 4-year player and we get to watch him for all 4 years.
Yeah,
or Brandon Trish.
I feel bad for a fan of Kentucky because you just don't get that sort of attachment to players.
Sure.
Come and go.
Yeah, even you win that national title, and it's like, okay, those guys. Who were those guys?
Yeah, 10 years from now, they probably won't remember half those guys' names.
And Kentucky next year is going to be unreal with the guys they got coming in. Their recruiting class is just maybe the best one they've ever had.
Yeah, well, so see how they mesh. See how the chemistry.
I'll be interested to see who goes from this team also because they're still saying Noel's going to be the number 1 pick if he comes out, and the power forward for them there would also be a top 5 pick. Even though they're not having great team success, they still got the individual talent.
Which is all the NBA is really most concerned about anyway.
Sure.
All right, well, you guys did good on the scoring. Who's top 2 in rebounding?
Big East games?
Big East games only.
Well, you got to go Jack Cooley. Would be my first guess.
Yeah, Jack Cooley's first.
God. I don't suppose it's not CJ Fair.
Nah.
CJ Fair is 6th on the list. Big East game.
Oh, what about George A. Dang?
That's a good one. He's 2nd. Yep, there's your 1 and 2.
Nice.
I have to tell you guys, on the scoring list, so CJ's 10th on the Big East scoring list in Big East games. Brandon Trish is tied for 11th, and then Carter Williams is 25th.
Yeah.
Updating us on the Syracuse guys.
But Fair's...
Who's leading the Big East in assists in Big East play?
And it's not Carter Williams, I suspect.
It is not Michael Carter Williams.
Jeez, I would...
It's going to be a tough one for you guys, I'll tell you
Off the top of my head, I'd say Peyton Siva, but I don't think that's the case.
He's 2nd, so he's ahead of Carter Williams.
How about Atkins from Notre Dame?
Not a bad guess. He's 7th. He's actually not even the leading assist guy in his own team, but he's 7th.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Grant. Oh,
Grant's 4th, yeah.
How about the little kid from South Florida?
Yeah, not a bad guess. Anthony Collins, he's 5th. They just stink. I mean, they just don't put the ball in the basket. That's the problem.
They were good.
The guys and
they had a great. They were at Sweet 16 last year.
I know it. They're just falling on hard times. They've only won 1 Big East game.
Woodall? Pitt?
Woodall Louisville's not a bad guess. He's 6th. You guys on Providence, I'll give you that clue. And that, you still may not even get it.
Yeah, well, you better give it to us then.
Vincent Council.
Oh, Council, no kidding. I may have got that. I know Cotton and Council, and the Providence also has that power forward who's a great player. Why are they only 12-11 on the season? You know.
I don't know.
Fire Ed Cooley.
Do you see them? They've got talent. Ed Cooley. Do you think he'd get him? A nice win against UC. That's the other night though. Last night.
Yeah, you'd think they would win more games like that, but again, you know, they're sitting at 4-7 in the league and 12-11, you know, overall. And
they swept Villanova.
Something we didn't do, and Louisville didn't do.
And then they, you know, lose to DePaul. You know, how do you explain it? But I don't know. So Vincent Council is top in the assists, steals.
Russ Smith.
Smith, no. I think not top 15.
Big East is like nationally, he's like top 10 in all the games played.
I'm going to go with Carter Williams.
Yeah, Carter Williams is right. So that's good. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. Tell me, which team leads the conference in average home attendance?
Ooh,
the entire season, not Big East games, total season.
Well, it's between Louisville and Syracuse, obviously, and normally you'd think it would be Syracuse, but by the fact that you're even asking this question, it makes me think it's Louisville. So I'm going to say Louisville.
I'm going to have to agree with you. It's a loaded question.
Strong deductive reasoning. You're absolutely right. Louisville's about 800 a game more than Syracuse, but
that's a little sad if you're a Syracuse fan.
They sell out all their games early in the season, and Syracuse, you know, might get 17,000, 18,000 for those, you know.
What's the average, Brad?
Syracuse averaging 20,004. Louisville's 21,2.
I bet you Syracuse will end up averaging more than them, though.
Yeah, we'll
some of the
surpass
games
them.
coming up.
Oh, as soon as the Georgetown game, they'll have 34-6.
Yeah.
And, you know, also thanks in part to Louisville because they'll also pack in 30-plus.
Yep.
Yeah, true. Right. Syracuse has the high attendance of the season, which shouldn't surprise anybody. 27.5 is their high game, so nothing even close to 30 yet.
Though I heard they already sold 32,000 for the Georgetown game.
Yeah, that's gonna be as full as it gets. You know,
I got 4 of them.
The problem is that those early games, they aren't even the same as they used to be in the 80s and even into the 90s when Syracuse would get a minimum of 19,000, 20,000. Now they play in front of 13,000, 14,000 crowds for some of those December games, especially when the students aren't there. And it's a little bit surprising, I think. But, with all the games being on TV now, especially if you're local, you get them on the Time Warner Sportsnet, and you can get them on ESPN3 if you're, live out of the area. Not that you'd go to the game if you live out of the area, but would you rather sit, in the 10th row of the third deck behind the basket or at home on your couch on December 16th when Syracuse is playing Central Connecticut State? And so I think that's the decision that a lot of people make. And I always like to go to the Dome, and it's just, I like to go to M Street, grab some varsity pizza, walk up the hill,
And every game, all those games are televised now.
Everyone.
Canisius, around here, we get to see them on Time Warner or,
well,
Big East Channel.
Hell, I live 500 miles from the Dome, and I've seen every single game this season.
Right.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, but that's probably why attendance is down a little bit in December. And I always cringe a little bit when you see maybe Syracuse bring a recruit in, whether it's for football or basketball, and they bring them in, for in football it might be Syracuse Rutgers, and there might be 38,000, and you're like, really, this is going to excite this kid? Or same thing if you're going to bring a recruit in, hopefully it's for Syracuse Georgetown and not Syracuse Elkhorn State,
right? Because
it's a totally different feel in the Dome. And I wish more people did turn out. And it's tough when the students aren't there. It's it's totally different atmosphere when the students aren't in the Dome, and it's not as fun. I mean, I hate going to the games when the band's not there. It's I like the Sour Citrus Society. I like me some sour citrus. So, Any more trivia, Brad?
Yeah, I got tons more.
Okay.
So, true or false? The Big East has a winning record against all other conferences this season.
Real quick, before you do that, I got an update from Eric Lorenzetti, who may be sitting in for you next week, Brad. You're going to be off next week, right?
That's correct.
That's what I hear. So we're working on getting Eric Lorenzetti in studio, or at worst case on the phone. He says Kenyon Martin was the last senior to be picked, first pick in the NBA.
What year?
I don't. Did he go first? He broke his leg. I don't know how he could have gone first.
Yeah, he must have.
He says
He was after Duncan, though. I obviously.
Yeah, he would have been like 2000, I think.
Yeah.
broke his leg during the NCAA tournament. They had a really good team that year. Not after they lost Kenyon Martin, though. But I think he did go number one.
Yeah, he did. Good job, Red.
Googling that right now. Yeah, you're right. He was. Well played, Red.
Okay.
Who took him?
Jersey.
Who took Kenyon Martin?
New Jersey.
New Jersey did?
He ended up playing with Melo in Denver for a
I
while.
don't remember that at all.
Yeah. I just remember him breaking his leg. I'm surprised somebody took a chance on him at the number one pick after coming off a broken leg.
He had a solid run in the NBA. Still playing. So back to your question, Brad.
Back to my question. True or false, the Big East has a winning record against all other conferences this season?
True.
I'll say true.
False.
Oh, that hurts.
There's two conferences the Big East has a losing record against this season. Can you name them?
All right. I'm going to say the A-10.
That's incorrect. The Big East is 11-6 against the A-10.
Oh, wow, a lot of wins.
The Big East had a losing record against the A-10.
Well, I just...
It's a good league, but yeah.
Well, I just... A lot of the losses I remember. I know, Temple beat Villanova and Syracuse alone right there.
They definitely have more
Butler.
losses against the A-10 than any other conference.
Butler beat Marquette. I just don't remember the wins, which were probably like Seton Hall over Fordham.
Right.
And stuff like that. So, okay, so it's not the A-10. Well, it could be...
Big Ten.
No,
we beat
Big
Michigan
Ten.
State.
Big East is 4-3 against Big Ten.
Big 12, maybe. SEC, no. It may be the ACC. I
Or
could
the Big East and the ACC. The Big East are tied with that conference, but there's two where they got a losing record.
Wow. So it's not the Big Ten. It's not the ACC. It's not the A-10.
Did you say ACC?
That's what I was just going to say. I think it was the ACC.
It was. The ACC is one of them.
Yeah.
2-3 against the ACC, and
Small sample size.
yeah, I mean Louisville lost to Duke without Gorgie Dang in that tournament after he just went out. Providence lost to BC.
Jesus.
And UConn lost to NC State. And then thankfully Wake is in the ACC, so the Big East was able to get 2 wins against Wake, UConn, and Seton Hall.
So that's one conference.
Yeah.
So the other one, I would like...
Pac-10.
No. And it's now called Pac-12. 5-1 Big East is against the Pac. I don't remember any of those games. 5-1.
Me either.
Early season out west, in Hawaii and in tournaments, I think were most of those games.
Washington, I think, was one of them. Maybe I don't even.
We said we got a winning record against the Big Ten.
Conference USA.
No, 5-1 also against Conference USA. And for the record, the Big East is 4-0 against the Colonial.
And I figured that.
Well, it's either going to be the SEC or the Big 12. I don't seem to remember many matchups with the Big East and the SEC.
Or neither. I'll just give it to you. Mountain West.
Mountain West, we beat San Diego State.
Right, that was the one. And then 2 losses. New Mexico beat both
Cincinnati.
UConn and Cincinnati.
Oh, wow, yeah, no kidding. 1 and 2. Small sample size again, but
Yep.
good trivia.
Big East is 1-1 against the West Coast Conference. Notre Dame beat BYU, but St. John's lost to South Florida. And then the Big 12, they're 2-2. So South Florida lost to Oklahoma State. St. John's lost to Baylor.
Huh.
Brad, we found that Old Dominion story at all. They fired their coach.
Did they just fire him mid-season?
Yeah.
Second coach fired this
I guess that
midseason.
UCA win wasn't.
USC
Supposedly,
fired their coach, too.
I didn't know this, but he has a issue with alcohol, and he showed up the rumor was that he came in to one of his radio shows and was slurring his words.
Oh, he went all Hoosiers.
You know, I guess 2-20 will do that to you.
I mean, you know.
And then I think he may have shown up to a game under the influence as well. Because he averages, Blaine Taylor averages 25 wins a game. I mean, or 25 wins a year. I mean, you know, obviously they're struggling this year, but I think there's a little more to it to get rid of him. One of my old coaches has actually been named the Coach Corrigan is the intern coach there.
Huh.
Hey, but they won tonight.
Did they? Nice.
Yeah, they beat Drexel.
Perfect.
Take that, Dragons.
First CAA win.
That's great.
Well, pretty crazy week in college basketball. Everybody's losing to everybody. It's hard to even keep track of anymore. Just when I thought my top 5 power rankings were set for the week, I get a little push notification on my phone that Indiana lost Illinois tonight. And it's the way it is. It's going to be a wild ride right to the end. There is probably, I'm not exaggerating, I would say there is 30 teams that could go to the Final Four this year. Is that too much? Am I being too indiscretionary there?
I think I'd limit it to about 16.
Yeah, I'd say 20 is the number I had in my head.
Well, but then you start looking at. I mean, are you saying then that Minnesota doesn't have a chance, or that Creighton doesn't have a chance?
I'm saying that Minnesota and Creighton do not have a chance.
All right. Well, I just the way this season is, and the teams at the top not being so dominant, I think it opens the door for a team to get hot at the right time and make a run. Whether that's Creighton, who lost, has been lost Indiana State, they've been losing. Who knows what's going to happen a month from now? How they're going to be playing. I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think, you're going to get hot at the right time, and it could be any one of a handful of teams to make that run to the Final Four.
That's what I think it feels like to me. It's going to be all about who gets hot at the right time. It's different than in past years where you had a handful of teams that were just head and shoulders more talented that you knew were going to get there just by sheer force.
Yeah, where you knew two or three 1 seeds in the past. You knew there was going to be 2 or 3 1 seeds going this year.
Who are the 1 seeds is even going to be?
No idea right now. You can't even make a guess. I wouldn't say, but this year, like you said, there's a number of teams who you could look at who got a great chance of going to the Final Four. But there's a lot of teams who can lose in the first round too, who are pretty good. So who knows?
Could be the year to the 16 loses to a 1. You see teams like a team like Kansas that loses to TCU.
TCU's not going to be in the tournament. They're not even going to be a 16 seed. They're not even going to be seeded in the NIT.
But if Kansas comes out and plays a 116 like they played the other night, they will lose.
Yeah, that's a good call. Could be the first year. Might be a good year for Syracuse to be a 2 seed.
Last year they almost became the 1.
Yeah, it's I just can't take it. It's almost not even that game last year.
Much pressure.
Who they play in the first round?
Too much pressure.
Nashville.
Oh yeah,
they hung around for quite a while.
And some would argue that Syracuse got lucky with a travel call that didn't happen. Brandon Trish, remember that?
Yeah. Whew. Boy, thank God. But why don't we jump right ahead to our top 5, unless there's anything in particular you wanted to touch on, Brad, from across the country this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same stuff we talked about. It's just insane. I mean, you look every night you look, and there's something weird happening. You look tonight, and Indiana loses to Illinois. I mean, we talked about them. We talked about Illinois a lot for some reason.
Well, they started out so good, then they went so bad. It was feast or famine with them. And
number one team. I mean, you don't know what you're getting with that team.
Quick text from Red: 2,000 to the Nets. Kenyon Martin, and he says only 4 teams can go to the Final Four. Think about it. And I think he means that there'll be only 4, not 30 teams in the Final Four. But what 4 teams will they be? I guess is the question. And that's kind of the heart of the power rankings that we do. We give our top 5, and to me, those are my top 4 seeds in the NCAA tournament and the 1 wild card. So these are the teams that at the moment I think would get the number 1 seed. And I got to do some quick adjustments here because I had Indiana 1, and they lost tonight to Illinois. I don't think I'm going to drop them out completely. But, yeah, Michigan with that big home win against Ohio State, which, by the way, Aaron Kraft, we complain about Michael Carter-Williams blowing it at the end of a couple of those games. Aaron Kraft just tried to do it all himself at the end of that game and kind of looked foolish.
Yeah, I thought, maybe got fouled at the end there, but I came away from that game just I can't believe what a great defensive player he is. He
definitely.
pretty much locked up Trey Burke throughout that game and
best in the country.
Stripped him. He's they talked about during that game, but national defensive player of the year possibilities.
I think he just took too much into his own hands offensively at the end of that game, trying to do it all himself when there's a lot of other guys on that team with a lot of talent. It obviously didn't work out for him. It was a tough environment, but big win for Michigan. So I'm going to go put Michigan at first, and then then it gets, what are you going to do? You know what I did? I went Gonzaga, because Gonzaga to me has played a pretty tough schedule this year, and I think they're at 2 losses. One of them at Butler in that fluke loss, which that should have been a big win for Gonzaga, but it ends up one of their 2 losses. They've been impressive. I'm putting Gonzaga number 2. I'm putting Syracuse number 3. Even with our depth issues, our system is good, and we got a ton of talent. And anybody that comes up against us is gonna, have a tough time of it. Put Indiana down to number 4 after the Illinois loss, and I moved Miami number 5, undefeated 9-0 in the ACC. They lost to Florida Gulf Coast earlier in the year. That was ancient history, though. The Miami Hurricanes are legit, and they're showing it every night. Florida could have been in there, but they were down 27 to Arkansas at one point, which, by the way, good for Syracuse's RPI to have Arkansas beat Florida like that. And then Kansas and TCU, same thing. Kansas should have been in my top 5, but they lost to TCU. Sorry, you're out. Brad, how about you? Top 5.
Number 5, I put Florida in, and
contrary
to what you just said. I mean, teams stubbed their toes, and Syracuse did it at Pitt, and Florida did it at Arkansas, and that's.
But they were down 27. It was shocking.
I'm aware of that.
They have a key injury too. One of their big guys was injured, and apparently that was a bigger impact than most people originally thought. But okay, go on, Brad.
I still think they're a legit team, and I think they've got too much talent to suffer for very long. So I've got them at 5. I have Gonzaga at 4. It's funny because you said the top 4 would probably be the number 1 seed, and you had Gonzaga at 2, but for some reason I just have a difficult time thinking Gonzaga is the number 1 seed. I don't know if it's just because they're just not in a high-profile conference.
You got to look at their resume, though.
You're right.
They challenge themselves in the pre-conference. Like no other team, Michigan State, Tom Izzo-esque, I guess, and and they win, and then like I said, Brad, I look at that one loss at Butler. They won at Butler, tough environment. They won that game. They gave it away at the end.
It's just there's a perception thing, and to me they passed the eye test, but there's a perception thing of how does a team like that get a 1 seed? It's just they've always been the Cinderella, and that's a hard thing,
right?
Just to get your head around, but
true.
I've got them at 4, which implies they're number 1 seed. And if it ended today with the way the seeds are, they'd be number 1 seed in my mind. I've got Indiana dropped at 3 after tonight's loss. They're not a great road team, you guys. I mean, they win consistently at home, but you get them on the road, and they're for some reason a different team. We saw that a little bit tonight. Number 2, I've got Arizona. They stumbled a bit against UCLA a few weeks back, but I mean they're the class of the Pac-12. It's not. It's a decent league. It's a better league than it was last year, but I don't see them stumbling too much here on out. And number 1, Michigan, great wins recently, and hard to argue against them as much as I'd like to.
So no Syracuse, huh?
Not yet.
Okay, well, we'll see next week. Well, actually, we won't. Maybe you can email me your top 5 next week from the road.
I'll do that.
And we'll hopefully have, like I say, Eric Lorenzetti in here, and he can give us a top 5. How about you?
I'm going to go with Syracuse at 5, just based on the fact, really, 2 of the 3 losses, they make foul shots, they win, and then losing at Pitt is obviously a tough place to play. So I got them 5. I'm going to go with Indiana 4. Brad, I'm kind of shocked by tonight's loss, especially, they're coming off a win where they beat Michigan. And I got Gonzaga at 3.
We all got Gonzaga.
They got, they just got a great resume. They've played a pretty good schedule this year. They might not lose the rest of the year either. So,
no.
They might, be the best lock for number 1 seed at this point, given what they've already accomplished, and that the fact that they're not going to be playing any top 10 teams the rest of the year.
St. Mary's isn't that good this year.
I got Duke at number 2. They really stuck at the NC State tonight, and
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, they've been playing without Ryan Kelly, and I think they're making that adjustment. They got blown out by Miami, but they bounced back with 3 or 4 really nice wins in a row here.
Good.
And their resume from top to bottom is as good, if not better, than anybody in the country. And then I got Michigan number 1. I know they had that loss to Indiana, but they bounced back and beat Ohio State. And I think offensively they're probably the best group of guards in the country with the 4 guards that they rotate. And they're well coached. They're not big in the middle, but they're adequate there. And I think they're just going to be a tough out come tournament time with the guards that they have.
Well, there you have it. It's difficult to put a top 5 together this year. That's just the nature of the way this season is going. Once again this week, Sunday, we got St. John's coming to the Dome at 3 o'clock. Wednesday, February 13th, we're at UConn, 7 o'clock tip on that one. So, Brad, like we said, you're going to be taking a week off next week. We'll miss you. We'll have you back on the other side. We know you're still going to be watching college basketball, though. And if there is anything that any change of plans, you let us know. And, of course, we'd love to have you call in. But in your stead, we're going to try to get Eric Lorenzetti in. This show works good as a threesome, I think.
Yeah, no doubt.
So that's it for this week. Thanks again for joining us on the Upstate Orange podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our feed on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, or RSS. You can find us on Facebook by searching Upstate Hoops and on Twitter at HoopsPod. For my co-hosts, Brad Connor and Matt Verkey, and our producer, Jeremy Hunt, I'm Jim Sinacropi. We'll see you back here next week.